If you felt stuck, uninspired, you just don't have that spark, but you want it, you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe too many ideas, or the opposite, not enough ideas, this video is for you. You're not broken, I promise. You just need a creative rebirth. You need one finger to not be painted. You know which finger that is? Not a coincidence. I'm just kidding. That is a coincidence, or is it? You're not broken. You just need a reset, a do over. It's why sometimes inspiration can feel so far away. Number one, to feel inspired is to be in spirit, right? It really is. And that's why art connects us. That's why music can make you feel some type of way, as the kids say, because you can either be really depressed and then just indulge in that depression, or you can get into a vibration with music that lifts your spirit. They have done studies. They've done a lot of studies. Look it up. Where our heartbeat actually syncs up when we're in an audience. So it actually is scientifically proven that we connect. And when we connect and our hearts sync up like that in a concert, in a movie, in a play, it can have very healing effects. It can also have very detrimental effects. When the vibration is really low and the music is very low vibration, it can actually have the opposite effect. It can make you anxious and annoyed and mad, right? These things are very important to pay attention to. If you're feeling that lack of inspiration, take a look around at what inspires you. Check in with everything in your surroundings. You might end up cleaning out those closets. I've done a lot of videos on this, but it comes down to that a lot, because when energetically you're all backed up and you open the closet door and everything's falling on your head, or you just feel disorganized, meaning every time you go into the closet, it was a cute pair of jeans at one time, but now you've shifted. You don't wear the same jeans that you wore when you were 2 years old because your body has changed. They might have been really cute jeans, but holding on to that and wishing you fit into that is cray cray. And that sounds silly. It's really simple, but so often we don't do that, right? Because we're trying to fit into an old paradigm that maybe served you at one time. Maybe there's some grief there. Now, I've said in past videos too, in cleaning up the house, sometimes you look at something and it makes you feel bad, but it's actually something that feels really good. For instance, with grief, maybe it's a family member that's passed on. Of course, that's going to hold grief, but when there's deep love there and it feels more love, is the grief is a hard one when you've lost a loved one, right? Because you have that love, and so you grieve. The more you've loved, the more you grieve, right? And that's different than just looking at an object from a past relationship or something and feeling this heavy sort of grief that isn't rooted in love. Maybe that object is time to go. Maybe something that's just remembering a family member, but it feels loving, that can stay. But it's really personal. It's all up to you. These are simple ways to get in spirit. And then number two is to raise the vibration in the spirit that you want. So if it is feeling depressed, allow yourself to indulge in that, but give yourself a time limit. Again, sounds silly. Treat yourself like the parent you wish you had, or maybe the great parent you did have. But you have to be that parent and knock your chin into the mic. It helps. You have to be that parent and say, you can feel bad about this thing. I'm going to allow you to indulge in it, but for how long? Let me listen to the sad music. Let me indulge in it. And then when it's like, just like when you eat something that is indulgent, too much of it is going to make you sick. Too much of the grieving sometimes can make you sick. Go, I'm going to set a time limit on this thing. and then move on to something that feels better. And maybe it's time to create something new. Maybe you're like, all the even happy music makes me sad now. Well, then it's time to start listening to some new music. It's time to go out and try something new, break the old mold. Or sometimes you can revisit some old song that just makes you feel good still. But it's about raising that vibration to get in spirit, to get connected with spirit, to feel inspired again, to have that spark. Remember, a lack of inspiration isn't failure, it's just a sacred pause. Now, sometimes there can be too many ideas. So many ideas can drown you, right? I work with a lot of artists as an acting teacher. Some of you may know, some of you and your personalities. You're like, I'm one person listening to this video, Leo. Hello. Some of you and your personalities might know that I'm an acting teacher and I've directed you in various scenes with all your personalities. And I digress. But it's really important. I forgot what I was going to say. It's really important to stay present, because then you're going to forget what you say, because you're not running a script all the time. And so to allow yourself those moments of presence, be in nature and just be present, ditch the phone entirely and get back to those simple and specific things. Overwhelm is what happens when you have so many ideas and you don't do anything, and you're overwhelmed, you're catatonic, you don't know which way to go. That's why in acting, it's good to trust your instincts, and it's a great place to practice that and just go, be present, go, 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 because you don't have time to doubt. Because the minute you start doubting yourself, those ideas can just sabotage you. You have so many great ideas, but then you don't do anything. Or you're hearing so many other voices and you're like, oh, they did it this way and they did it that way, and maybe I should do it this way. And maybe at first what was inspiring, because you're like, oh, that was cool how they did it, and that was cool how they did it. Suddenly now you're overwhelmed by all of that and you don't know where your own voice is. Something that was inspirational has now turned into a way to sabotage you because it's been overindulgence. Are you consuming too much? Sometimes when you consume instead of create, we're all artists all the time. If you're feeling a lack of inspiration, maybe because you're not creating something new. I don't work just with actors. I also do personal development and role playing and drama therapy type work with the acting work that I do. I work with relationship coaching, and I work with lawyers, I work with therapists, I work with all sorts of different people who just want to get in tune with that. And sometimes people who have affairs and different things, it's just because they want that spark again. They want to feel like they're in high school again. They want to feel that creative spark. It is nothing to do with sometimes their spouse. And then they project all of that into this new person sometimes, right? So it's just about finding that. What is it that I'm really after? It's a feeling. People fall in love with how others make them feel. Otherwise, no one would ever get divorced, right? Because that one feeling would stay the same forever. But it's like all of a sudden now they don't make them feel that way. And now they're getting divorced. You fall in love with the feelings. What is the feeling that you're after? Try to get inspired with that. You're like, I just want to feel love. Well, what would that be like? And that's the other thing, is to imagine. I don't know what number we're on. Number 3. I always lose track. I don't know why I try to count, but I try to make it organized. That's the other thing with creative minds. I'll pat myself on the back. Creative. Hashtag sometimes disorganized. I try to organize it by numbering, and then my brain doesn't think that way. Number 3 or 4 is to imagine what would it be like if you could just wave a magic wand. What would it be like? Oftentimes when I say that to people, I work with a lot of clients and I'll ask them that question. What would it be like if I could just wave a magic wand? What would the relationship be like? What would the family be like? What would the business be like? And then they immediately say, well, I don't want X, Y, Z. I'm like, that's not what I said. I said, if you could just do anything. So spend time with your imagination and address that part of you that's already shutting it down in your own imagination. Already like, nope, not possible. It's free. It's in your imagination. What would you want if you just could? Allow yourself that first. Because if you're shutting down everything out in the real world and in your imagined life, of course, you're not going to feel a spark. Of course, you're going to feel a lack of motivation. Like nothing's possible. You're in complete lack. You've shut down anything before it even had the possibility to breathe. So many artists that I've worked with over the past 12 years in my coaching business and in my classes are brilliant, genius level talents. And the ones that succeed just keep going. They're not more talented than the people who don't succeed, though. Studies show that people do better when you just continue. Number 5 is to outrun your demons, to create so much that you outrun your demons. You just keep going. Studies have shown that quantity is actually better sometimes than quality, especially for the artistic, creative mind, because perfectionism comes in. You have a spark, a genius idea, and then you go, oh, but how could it be? How could it be done? Or you listen to somebody else, how could it be done? Or you see somebody else and at first it's inspiring, but you're like, oh, they did it so great. Or somebody else did it and they struggled and you're like, oh, it can't be done. And so you shut it down. Allowing yourself the freedom to believe that it's possible, to believe and achieve. Again, often what I've witnessed is a person who just keeps going is the one who succeeds. And then there's somebody who's way more talented and skilled and maybe even deserving, and they don't have the success. Why? Because they're over here spending time with their demons, their doubt, their worry, their fear, their lack, their limitation, their regret. They're sitting and they're dwelling. They're overindulging in the negative. I've been there. I've done that. Believe me, I get it. This is why I know. And if that wasn't 5, then this is 5 or 6. Hey, I'll give you a couple bonuses because I always do. And I can count, but only sometimes. Now, I am good at math. That's an old story. I'm excellent at math, but not in these videos, apparently. Any doodle McNoodle. Being perfectly imperfect. Allowing yourself to be. Allowing yourself to be maybe similar to somebody, maybe different than somebody. Nobody's exactly like you, though. You're 1 in 8.2 billion. So allowing yourself to evolve and to make mistakes and to keep creating. They did a study on the quantity over quality with a professor who gave one class the assignment of making one pot all semester. It was a pottery class, go figure. That's why he said make one pot, but make it perfect. Then he said to the other class, make as many pots. I don't care if they're perfect, if they're terrible, just make as many pots as you can. Guess who made the most good pots? The class that said, just make them, just produce, just keep going, outrun your demons, outrun the naysayers that say you can't do it, outrun the overindulgence that says, just have 15 more pies and put off your dreams till tomorrow because it's too late. Let's spend more time with regret. Dreaming the big dream. And 5, having gratitude for everything that's already going right. So many things are already going right now, in this very moment. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up. You need to keep showing up. The thing is, sometimes we get critiqued on one thing or it's a challenge and then we get stuck in gear. As I like to say, we get a flat tire. It always happens before a big play. Whenever I would direct a show in the theater or do a big showcase for the acting students in my classes, every time the week before the show, people's cars would break down, people would break up, people would get divorced, people would get sick, somebody would die. I mean, life happens. Life happens when you're busy making other plans, right? Treat your life as if it counts, as if today counts, as if it is an emergency to be inspired, to be in spirit, to be connected, to be present. Allow yourself to keep failing forward, but move forward. The only way you can fail is by sitting and chilling with the demons all day. So if you're ready to keep moving forward, let me know in the comments. Say, I'm moving forward. I'm outrunning my demons. Demons ain't got nothing on me. Say whatever you want, but declare it because there's power in that. And sometimes even in commenting, people are like, oh, I'm scared to comment. What is that voice? What is that voice in your head? Oh, I'm too late, too old. Oh, that's another bonus one for you. That's another bonus one. The too late, too old. I always laugh when people think, like, say you want to be a relationship coach, but a lot of relationships you've been in have quote unquote failed. Or is it just that you've learned so much about what doesn't work? To me, that makes you an expert in relationships. I want to learn from the person who knows what does not work, not the person who's had everything perfect. And now that's not the way some people think. They're like, no, I want the person who's never had any struggle or strife, who's had it perfect. But that person's going to be blindsided when there's challenge. I like meeting with the entrepreneur, with the person who has had quote unquote failures, but persevered because they know how to keep going. I have had so many challenges and quote unquote failures in my life, but because I've chosen to keep going, I've also experienced the greatest moments in my life. Is quote unquote to some people a failure that I'm single at my age? Or is it a tremendous opportunity? I get to be a mom and I have this one-on-one time with my daughter. I don't know why I've been awarded that one-on-one time with her, but I get that. Now, I could have the perspective of the other, and I've entertained that, but it feels terrible. So I choose not to. And I choose to be around people who believe in possibility. So the next time you hear somebody say, oh, why would you ever listen to that person? They're a millionaire, sure, but they went bankrupt. So then they learned how to get millions after bankruptcy. That's huge. They learned how to love themselves when they felt so alone and nobody was around. That's much bigger than the person who had everything perfect and everyone around, in my opinion. But I'm more curious to know, what do you think? Can you be perfectly imperfect? What is your legacy? Let me know in the comments. And if you found value in this video, please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Subscribe to raise your vibe. It works. It's crazy, but it works.